Good afternoon and welcome to The Joy is in the Journey. This is Gina and I am here as your host, and I am grateful to be here with you today on New Thought Media Network. And the joy is in the journey, for those of you who are new here with us, is just that. We're talking about the joy of right here and right now, being present in it and knowing that truth of right here and now. It's not waiting for something to happen. You know, we're in a society that often practices destination happiness, which is what I call it. That when I have this, well, then I'll be happy. When this happens, then I'll be happy. But the truth is, happiness and joy are within us right here and right now. Joy is an attribute of divine, therefore it is always present. Whether or not I'm accessing it, that's another story. So we get the opportunity, every Thursday we come together to find new ways to access that joy and to be present in that presence of life itself in a joyful way. So I am blessed today. I am so happy. I have a friend of mine, someone that I'm blessed to call a friend, and a fellow practitioner who I absolutely love. And our guest today is Pamela Padula, and she is not only a practitioner, but she does so much. And I'm going to give you a little bit of her background. She's, as far as on Concordia's in Rhode Island Centers for Spiritual Living, she's the co-chair of the Leadership Council, chair of the Practitioner Corps, and board member on the Concordia's Women Ministry. She loves the science of mind and New Thought teachings. And she's an avid student and teacher and facilitator of CSL certified classes and practitioner studies. Actually, the group that she's helped is taking their final test. They're taking their panel. They already took their written one, but they're paneling a group of 5 this Saturday. So we are knowing their absolute truth. I'm introducing Pam Padula.
Thank you, Gina.
But I didn't get to the best part yet. I get so easily distracted. Okay. But I didn't want to make you wait any longer. She's also a professional astrologer, intuitive card reader, and medium. That's her full-time profession. And I can say personally, she's amazing at it. Okay. And you've done so much with that as an intuitive. I mean, you had a monthly magazine, you had so much. Tell us more about you.
Oh, Gina, first of all, thank you. Thank you for inviting me on the show. And congratulations to you. What a wonderful opportunity to come in and week out and share the joy of the journey and the joy of living. And, you know, I'm just in my bliss. I'm very grateful to be here with you today. And again, congratulations for all these new beginnings. I'm excited. I'm excited about life right now. You know, coming out of this COVID, I am a practitioner first. I've been a student of the teachings for a little over 7 years now. And it opened my eyes. It opened my eyes to not only this presence and this power, but that there was a law, that there was this power in the universe, as Ernest Holmes says, and we can use it. And although I had been a student for my whole life, a seeker on the path my whole life, it never occurred to me that I could use even my own gifts as an intuitive and as a psychic to my advantage. For some reason, that felt like I was taught that was wrong. You know, you need to be selfless. And Science of Mind empowered me with the opportunity to capture the vision and to know that if I align myself with my belief system and I align myself with the laws, that I can co-create my reality. And what an exciting thing. You know, what an exciting thing.
That it is. It truly is a wonderful gift to know that empowerment. And you know, I am a firm believer our parents did the best they could with what they knew. But when we know different, we can be and do different. And it's not to say, it's not about better or worse, more or less. It's about becoming who we're here to be. And that's the gift of it, is that the fuller our life is, the more our passion is, the more we're brimming over with good, the more good we have to share.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I'm so fortunate. I mean, what I do, I am an astrologer. I work with clients one-on-one, and I do what I call astrology readings, which is based on people's date of birth and their time. And I've been an intuitive, and Science of Mind has opened up a whole nother perspective on that. I mean, it's just totally enhanced the work that I'm doing because I recognize that life is not happening to us. Life is happening in conjunction with us, through us, as Michael Beckwith so beautifully put forth in his teachings. And so now when I talk astrology and when I speak with my clients, I recognize that there's a power greater than us operating, and it might be the power of the full moon, or it might be the power of some kind of energetic astrological alignment, and I can use it. I can use it for self-discovery. I can use it for revelation. I can use it on behalf of the whole, and I can use and allow it to use me, because in the same way we teach in Science of Mind, it's the same language. You and I were having this conversation just recently, right? It's the same truth. It's just another way of talking about it, communicating.
It is a beautiful gift, and one of the things that I really appreciate most is the fact that, there's different language to call spirit. Some people call it God, some people call it, there's so many different, but they all mean the same thing. So intuitive, we talk about intuition all the time. As far as within, that's that inner sense, that inner knowing, that inner voice. We know that to be true in Science of Mind. That's where we speak from. That's where we treat from. That's where that highest knowing is. So what you do is an extension of that. I know there's a lot of people there are people out there that don't understand necessarily the correlation, but it all lines up to me. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on, is to say there is a way to align. It's not about an intermediary. It's simply about allowing good to flow in different ways. We have conversations with friends all the time, and they hear things differently than we hear things because they're not in the circumstance.
Exactly.
You're not in the circumstance. You're simply allowing it to flow through you, as we do in any treatment. As a practitioner, I'm knowing truth, and I'm knowing that truth of me and of the person I'm treating for. So it's not really any different than that. It's just a different practice of it.
Yeah, exactly, Gina. You couldn't have put it more clearly. That's exactly what it is. And I'm just using terminology that's a little bit different. Like at first, when I first came to Science of Mind, I didn't understand a lot of the terminology. It was very heady and very scientific, and the languaging was very sort of patriarchal, and it took me some time to get past the language and hear the message. So even in astrology, I mean, life is open to interpretation, and there are lots of astrologers, and there are lots of Science of Mind ministers, and there are lots of teachers, and there are lots of practitioners who have their perspective on the one truth. And I've learned over the years that whatever I'm working on, the universe is reflecting back to me. So many of the clients that end up coming to me are either struggling or asking questions or in alignment to the things that I'm going through. So that's why I love the fact that our system, our teaching, Science of Mind teaching is perpetual. It's an open-ended teaching. It's non-dogmatic, and mysticism as a whole is non-dogmatic. I'm a mystic at heart. That's what I am. I'm a mystic, and I use.
That's what Ernest Holmes was.
Yeah,
that's what Ernest Holmes was. We're mystics.
Yes.
And that's the gift of it, is to celebrate and allow whatever. It's all energy, and we know. Everything is energy. I just finished my semester, and I'm very glad. So grateful it's done. Quantum physics, science, and spirituality, and really proving that there is something greater than us at work,
Mm-hmm.
scientifically proven, because
Yeah.
we are science of mind. So
Yeah.
therefore, we scientifically prove these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all energy. So if we know that, then how is one any different than any other? And when
Mm-hmm.
we kind of look at how it all flows together, the stars, there's no coincidence that, it's not all of this works in astrology as far as the planets all moving. We're not doing it. We have
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with gravitational pull. We're not keeping ourselves afloat. It has nothing to do with us. There's
Right.
something greater than us.
Mm-hmm.
We trust that in our lives, and we trust that for our planner. Why wouldn't we trust it in the greater than?
Exactly. Exactly. There have been scientists and Galileos and the many beings on this planet that have been looking at the wonders of creation and finding language to express or understand or interpret God. Interpret God. It's just another interpretation of the universal. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I get to do what I love. Like, this is what I love. I love talking spirit. I love to talk about the greater good. I love to see the glass half full. And I have to practice that. I mean, that doesn't come natural to me. It Science of Mind has taught me that if I use the principles and I use the spiritual practices, then it it enhances my experience, and it allows the law to do what the law does. And I'm an avid believer in meditation and prayer as avenues to growth and awareness.
Because the law is working whether we're using it or not,
Exactly.
consciously, whether
You're
we're consciously using it or not. So when we're
exactly.
in that place of practice, when
Mm-hmm.
we are consciously present, when we are living mindfully, when we are connecting to something bigger
Mm-hmm.
than, that's
Mm-hmm.
the gift. And it's not about going or doing, or it's just being.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a gift. The practices to me are a gift. And I
Mm-hmm.
love what you do, because one of the things that I love about, you know, sometimes when you listen to astrology,
Mm-hmm.
read, or whatever it may be, whether it be about someone's signs, or I've witnessed this firsthand with you, which is just amazing. See, people don't know you, but one of the most amazing things, she's got a photogenic mind. She looks at your chart once and she always remembers, which is just, it blows my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I can remember us, and you're telling me things about myself. As you're saying, well, then that must mean that you enjoy this. You like to do these things. And if the way that I think, because of when I was born,
Mm-hmm.
so many of those traits, it explains it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know there's a lot of people that think that they don't take much stock in it. But
Mm-hmm.
those may be the same people that are interested in spiral dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
They think, oh, I can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Or they look into the different types of personality tits. It's
Mm-hmm.
no different than
Mm-hmm.
the different personality. I can't think of the name of the Morse Briggs.
Okay, yeah.
Well, there'll be someone that believes in the Morse Briggs, but then says, yeah, but signs mean nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's no different. It's just another way of looking at people and working with people. It's
Exactly.
another way of working together and understanding where they come from.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, the
Yeah,
more I understand people, the easier it is for me to work with you.
exactly. And it's humbling in one way to recognize that we're part of a cosmic ecosystem. That apples fall from apple trees. And there are people born at certain times and certain points in time and space and in the cycles of the year that are born to bear apples, and others are born to bear oranges. That we are part of an ever evolving system, and that the system is very organized, that it's masterful and unified, but there's a cosmic story, there's a universal story that's happening. So when we come into this plane, there's a school of belief, astrologers believe, as the soul comes through at that exact time and place on Earth, that there's almost like a cosmic blueprint. And some of that blueprint is a story that is unfolding through our whole life. It's an astrological story that's unfolding. And we're also editors and co-writers of that story. And we're playing many characters in the story. And we can make use of our talents or not. We have free will. I mean, there are twins born exactly at the same time in space. And I've seen many. I've had twins come in back to back, identical twins. And I'm certainly not going to give them the same reading. They have a different reading because they're bringing out because of their consciousness and their soul's eternal presence, different elements of the so-called moment, which is ever changing. That's the other thing that we learn in our teachings, and astrology is the same thing. It's an evolving and ever moving process. So we're all in response to these big universal bodies. It's like we talk about the oneness of God and science of mind, and we talked about the attributes of the one as love and joy and harmony and light and peace and law and power. We define that unity with several different words and approaches, rays of light. And astrology is the same thing. Each sign represents a different dynamic. Each planet represents a different dynamic presence and power of God and of spirit. So as it's been, for thousands and thousands of years, astrologers have been studying cycles, and there's some universal knowledge. And then there's always cutting edge. Like I said, it's all perspective, because it's an ever-changing story in an eternal universe.
And it has been around forever. Farmers, before there were almanacs, that's how they planted. They would go by the cycle of the moon. And there were so many, that's how they celebrated life. There were so many things that were based on the stars. This goes back to everything from ancient Egypt to before that. Yeah. It's always the case. So it's not anything new, but it's done in different ways. And I know that, it's not going to be for everyone, but I find it absolutely fascinating. We've all heard, Mercury in retrograde. In the past year, there's been a bunch of planets, actually, past year and a half. Everything that's unfolded, you could see astrologically, you could see how it's happening. Even the chaos of our country, you could see that coming in so many different things that were talked about in astrology. Now, it's easy in hindsight to say it, but you were talking about it before it happened, as it happened. So there's reasons more than, even for elections, for the way things unfold, there's reasons for it all. There's a bigger picture at play, and ebbs and flows and everything, including right now.
I'm always shocked. Even watching astrology, to see the alignments. Like Pluto is the planet that rules major transformation. And Pluto takes about 250 to 275 years to make its complete rotation. So back in 1775, 76, when they were writing the Declaration of Independence, Pluto was in Capricorn. Capricorn rules order, structure, government, business. Pluto was organizing this country through the people alive, through the writing of the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution. Now here we are, Pluto has come full circle, and Pluto is it's made its first full rotation back to Capricorn as we speak. And we are living in a time where our Constitution and the interpretation of our Constitution is being challenged, where people are saying, are we really free? Are we really free? Or are we all, in some way, shape, or form, still slaves to the few? And have the many really been empowered So Pluto now in its full rotation has said, okay, we're babies. This is our first cycle for the United States astrological chart, because astrology not only tracks, you can track anything in astrology. You can track an event. You can start a business under certain, just like you said, planting the crops. You know, we start businesses when the moon is waxing. We want the moon represents our day-to-day activity. Not to say that life doesn't happen on all these other days, but here in New England, we're not out in December planting seeds for corn. We're not, you know, so there is a time and place for everything. So yes, I'm amazed at how current events reflect what is going on in the stars, and the stars are reflecting and influencing continual change, you know, the cosmic wheel of time.
And even with the cycles of the moon, when you really think of it, the moon is what pulls our tides.
Mm-hmm.
So if it is strong enough to create our tides, and we are primarily water, why wouldn't it affect us?
Mm-hmm.
It's just common sense. Why wouldn't it pull at us in different ways if we are water and that's what it pulls on?
Right, exactly. Good point.
So, you know, everything is, it's all energy, and how does it flow? And, you know, it's been, I know right now, today's a full moon.
Yes, it is.
And I actually, I'm like, it's Capricorn, isn't it?
Yes,
so
it
we are
is.
in that order right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, this time of year has been celebrated for thousands, and like you said, thousands of years. Back in Egypt, we had the summer solstice, and we are in the full moon today. And the summer solstice is when the sun goes to 0 degrees Cancer. So that's the beginning that's the longest day of the year. That's when the light, and here in the Northern Hemisphere, you know, the extended day of light, and even the axis of the Earth is tilted so it appears that the sun's even closer to us. So this is why a lot of the sacred monuments were built into a line to this time of year, because they felt that we were that much closer to the sun, which, you know, over the years, the sun was God. You know, the sun was this higher power. It's a power greater than us. So the summer solstice is initiating us. We're coming out of yang, like we're coming out of the winter and spring, which is hard work. It's much more about survival. It's much more about doing. And we're coming into the yin. We're coming into receiving now. We've already planted our crops. We've done a lot of work. So the full moon in Capricorn is saying, okay, we're completing a working cycle. We're completing 6 months of actively doing. Now we're moving into the Divine Mother. We're moving into the receptive cycle to receive. So we're going to celebrate in advance, just like us in Science of Mind. You know, we say our gratitude, knowing that the law is going to make it so. So a lot of the celebrations around this time of year was in knowing that the floods, the river is flooded, it's going to rain, the crops are going to grow. And so we're moving into moving from hibernation, inward, working, surviving, into the more nurturing, joyful, sunny side, you know, of Cancer. And Cancer, you know, it's the Divine Mother. You know, we're reconnecting with the larger body, our community, the earth, and praising her that we survived another season. You know, that we're at a peak now. You know, we're at a peak.
And isn't it a beautiful thing that we're out and about and able to do it?
Oh my God! Especially after this, like this has been a cosmic rite of passage, to think that we've been like an exaggerated period of hibernation. We've been unnaturally locked in our houses, at home, you know, in our little micro units, some alone, some with their small pods, and in a season, in an eclipse season. And when we're having eclipses in astrology, eclipses are like new moons and full moons on steroids. There's like, in the course of like a 15 months to 2 years, a year, 18 months to 2 years, the eclipse will pattern out in the two signs. They follow the two signs. And right now the signs are Gemini and Sagittarius. And what it's doing is, in the eclipse, it's exaggerating a beginning and an end, which the full and new moon represent. Beginning cycles, ending cycles, the ever-changing. It's exaggerating it, but it's in the element that rules our belief systems. It rules ideas. It rules the conversation. It rules belief systems collectively, personally, politically, socially. And we've seen this tension. We've seen this polarization. We've seen the exaggerated belief in duality, really, under this influence of good and bad. And we've also, I think these eclipses have helped to realize, help teach us, or to remind us, to shake us out of our complacency and remind us of how fragile life is, and how impermanence is a reality, that nothing is permanent, that impermanence is a living reality. And so I believe that we're in a big evolutionary upgrade, that we're being given an opportunity to see things from a new perspective as a result of sort of being pulled out of the collective. And I mean, there are a lot of voices right now, if you want to look for where the power is, the power is in who and what you're listening to. And we all need to be discerning. I mean, I have my story, you have your story. There are many stories out there, and what is true and what's not true. I mean, that's the discernment that when the eclipses in the north and south node, those are just axial points with the axis of the earth in relationship to the universe. When they're in Gemini and Sagittarius, it means that it's time for us to take in the information and decipher the information that's being told to us and come to terms with what is valuable to us. What do we value? What do we believe is true? What do we stand by? So yeah, it's a pretty intense time. I mean, it's intense time. And I'm glad that we are coming out of the COVID now in the summer.
In this country.
In this country, yes.
Again, we're blessed to be able to have the option of anyone can go get a vaccine, anyone that chooses to, and whatever people's choices may be.
Yeah.
So, but we are blessed to have that as an option.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, I know that you have written for monthly magazines, you've had articles, and I know you're working on a podcast, which I cannot wait for, because I've been asking for a long time. And I will have to have you on again once it starts.
Thank you.
If you can, how did you get into astrology and cards and all of that stuff? How did you begin to be interested? I mean, it's fascinating, but how did you really fall into it?
I was a teenager. And entrepreneurial at an early age. So I had babysitting jobs. And one of my first babysitting jobs was with a woman who was an astrologer. And I was 14 years old, and I would babysit her kids. And she was very friendly. She loved to talk about the stars and the moon and spirituality. And I just felt like it chose me, Gina. I mean, I was raised in a loosely knit Catholic family. I mean, my grandmother, my aunts, they were all open-minded. They had gone to psychics. I remember them talking about it when I was a kid. And everybody had certain visions. My Aunt Margaret had she always talked about the Mother Mary visions that she used to have. So the family was mystical in its own way. But it was through this woman and opening up a door. There was a group of astrologers that used to meet at this woman's house to do astrology talks. And some of them were the big players like Louis Acker, Isabel Hickey. These are people that were writing the books back in the 70s. And she was friends with an astrologer out of Boston. So that began it. I remember Helen Whitehead was her name. And she did astrology for, I think, Kiss 10 something out of Boston. Remember that radio station?
Kiss 108, they're still there.
Yeah, Kiss 108. And Helen used to do their astrology, and she did my chart. she did my astrology chart, and she said, "You're meant to be an astrologer." And I went, "Astrologer?" Like I was a cynical teenager. I was like kind of listening, like, what's in it for me? Like every other teenager. And lo and behold, I'll tell you, that seed was planted and I was off and running. By the time I was 17, I was reading as much as I could, and I was doing charts, and I was talking about Mercury retrograde with the other high school students. And it was a hobby. It was an interest and a passion for many years until I felt called when I got near my 30s. I was feeling a lot of the reality I was living was not fitting me. Like things were falling apart. As much I felt like a round peg, and I kept trying to fit in the square form, and it wasn't fitting. And a friend of mine owned a bookstore on Thayer Street called Pyramid Books. And Terry said to me, "Why don't you come here and read cards?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't really read cards. I'm more of an astrologist." She goes, "You read cards. You've done it before for us." And I would do it, play it around. And that's, that's where it began. And I love it, Gina. Like I'm a person that listens to other astrologers, constantly read what other people has to say, because it's so complex. There's so many threads, and there are some brilliant astrologers out there. I mean, I consider myself an intuitive astrologer. I mean, I am fairly good at what I do, but there are brilliant astrologers out there, and it's just a joy to be a part of that community. I'm a part of that larger community. And I appreciate what people are doing out there, and I just do my piece. I do my version.
As someone who goes every year on my birthday for a reading, and I cannot wait. Mine's coming up in another month, and I'm looking forward to this year's.
Yes, and you're going to love it because you're a Leo.
And things happen, and you can't. Yes, I can't wait. I'm very excited. I'm like, I want to go early, but then I know I need to wait. It's not time yet. So it's like that gift I give myself every year.
Yeah.
And things happen, and there's no coincidence. And like for me, my mom actually transitioned last year, and it's actually 2 weeks. It'll be a year. And for her birthday, I tried to give her a session with you.
I remember.
And well, I did. I paid for it and everything. Yeah. And it was all set. And her car would not let her drive.
I remember that.
Her starter engine would not start at all. There was nothing wrong with it the day before, and it just wouldn't start. And I'm like, well, this is odd, but there was nothing we could do. We canceled last minute, and we rescheduled. It had to be like 6 months later. And again, she got literally to the driveway, and like a belt popped.
Yeah, I remember.
And the next thing you know, she transitioned. So I know that's not a coincidence.
No.
So stuff happens that I can see the alignment of. I mean, my personal experience with astrologers or intuitives, my family as well would go to readers when I was young, and I was about to change high schools, and this woman gave me this amazing reading, but it basically, it said that I was going to get married. I was going to have a baby out of wedlock. I was going to get pregnant my freshman year of college.
Yeah.
And my mother lost it because I'm young. I was in high school. My mother lost it. And of course, this is also 25 years ago. And when I waited, and I think it was 5 years later, I went, and a woman gave me the exact reading that woman had given me. The exact reading.
Wow.
Now you can see how pink I am. Yeah. I'm whiter than your shirt. Every person was like, what? And I'm like, no. And I kept saying, she's like, well, then you will very soon. I'm like, no. And she literally would tell us, she said, I see the daycare right by where you live. And it was out my window in college.
Wow.
And I'm like, no, like there was no way. But she gave me the exact reading. So it was one of those things and there were so many details, like the color of a truck, like where the people were from, like so many details that it can be a little scary. And it's one of those things that for me, I truly believe that I went to these people because you have a choice for your life.
Yeah.
And I was given that choice. So needless to say, I was more than careful, and I
Mm-hmm.
did not have, and and that person would not have been the person that I was meant to be with. I
Right.
know that without any hesitation, and
Right.
it's gone on even more so. So it's not a question, but that was one of the gifts I feel Spirit gave me to be able to have that choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because how could I have known? And it was one of the, like, it was so clear. It was
Mm-hmm.
amazing. I mean, it scared the living crap out of me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, wasn't the same woman. Completely
Mm-hmm.
different person, completely different place.
Wow.
35 years later, giving me the exact reading.
Wow.
So it allowed me to create the life of choice
Mm-hmm.
and know that it's a different path. And even my palm, they both read my palm and saw the same thing.
Yeah.
And now my palm is different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
literally we have the power to, because I do believe in some concept of predestiny.
Mm-hmm.
We always have a choice.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And for me, there was power in that
Mm-hmm.
because I got the choice.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's beautiful, Gina. That's such great insight and such great wisdom. And I try to tell my clients all the, because a lot of people want to come, they want to come and they want you to tell them what will happen or what they should be doing, and it's tricky. And I've had people that I've read for that there was a vision of them going to Florida and this and that and the other thing, and they went a lot of the what came true. And then they came back and they said, that was horrible. Why did you tell me to go to Florida? I said, all I can do is deliver the mail. Like, I'm not writing the checks or sending the bills out. Like, I'm just delivering the mail. We're all cooperating with each other's empowerment, with, like you said, with the opportunity to choose, with the, that spirit will work with me to the degree that you can hear what I have to say, or I can lean into the greater truth. I mean, whether that message needed to happen twice with those two psychics with you, or that one psychic was so psychic that she just read the story out of your head instead of read your future. We don't know. Like, there's so many different ways that the universe is conversing with us. And I mean, if you believe in the string theory and quantum physics, then all realities are reality. And at every breath, every moment, in this moment is the only moment that I can do the absolute right thing because I'm doing it. you know?
So there's so many, there is infinite possibility. And, you know, and this woman looked me in the eye and she could see him. She's like, she was convinced I was lying to her. She could
Wow.
see she's like, I can see him. I can see you holding. Like, she almost fought with me that I was lying to her. And I never said anything about the other woman ever in the whole conversation. And the cards just kept coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of those things, well, then, we're removing the option.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it was, to me, I appreciate, and I really appreciate just, it's a way to focus in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
My question always because I love cards, I have all kinds of, decks and things like that, is what do you want me to know? Spirit, what do you want me to know? I'm not looking for a wish list out of this. It's not looking at Spirit as Santa Claus. It is saying, what would you like me to know? And if you have if your phone is clearer than my phone, why wouldn't I use yours?
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
not why we go to practitioners.
Exactly.
In the moment, we're not distracted. When
Mm-hmm.
you come to me as a client, I can know your truth because I'm not distracted by the story.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yes. I go to my own astrologers or my own readers because, yeah, I'm biased. We have our preferences. But yeah, it's a wonderful time to be on the planet, to be able to have these conversations. And, I think that astrology is becoming more and more of a language that people can for self-discovery, for self-understanding. That's the way I see it. I see that, when I do somebody's chart, my objective is to bring up a mirror of self so that you as an individual can see yourself more clearly, and to bring out those strengths, and to ask the difficult questions. What would you prefer? What would you prefer? If this has been the pattern, and there are patterns there. I mean, astrology is all derived at how the planets are in certain angles and patterns with one another. And some of us are born with patterns that are more challenging, and other patterns that are more harmonious. And how do we rise above them and not repeat those patterns, through insight, through awareness. So we as astrologers are helping bring that insight, bring that awareness to the clients, just like a practitioner, but different. You know what I mean? I know what the line is. I know where my role is and what my role is as a practitioner, and I keep the two worlds separate, for sure.
I understand that completely, because as a life coach, a session is completely different than it would be as a practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not about advice in any way. I am here as that intermediary for spirit, that as a practitioner, it's knowing spirit and speaking in through as the one, compared to, okay, let's talk about life, and going in that other direction. This is completely different. There's two different hats. And just like we know what it's like to be a parent, or a sister, or a whatever, we don't treat everyone the same way. So you can be the two different things.
Exactly.
So tell me, when you do what you do, and I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so I apologize to people at home. What is it that you love about it? Tell me about working with your clients, or even your own readings, whether it's cards or astrology. What do you love?
I love the fact that this journey that I'm on is so redeeming. It's so redeeming. I love the fact that the greater good is always seeking to shine through every moment, every sign, every seeming tragedy. I love being a vessel for spirit to move through me and to bring hope into people's eyes, to meet them from a place of compassion. My path has restored my humanity. Like, my humanity, I don't know, it got lost somewhere along the line. Like, I just didn't have faith in humanity. And now I do. I'm not one to think apocalyptically. I'm very hopeful. So I love being able to love people. I love people by seeing them for who they are and talking about the truth, that the way I see it astrologically, and giving them some insight into their sacred being, because I talk the language of the soul. So I'm a soulful astrologer. I speak to the soul, and I believe that spirit speaks through me, and I have put a lot of information in my sort of personal Rolodex, and it uses it. It just comes popping out of, the cards come popping out, and I feel good because I identify. I know there's nowhere we are not. Like, how I'm not any better, but even when I'm talking about it, like I said, the people that come to me are usually people that are dealing with the same issues that I'm dealing with. So I get to hear myself objectively speaking about how to improve my relationship, or maybe it's time to walk away from this job that's not working for you anymore, or it seems as though the past you're dealing with ghosts from the past and it feels like a forgiveness issue. Like, there are different, everything I'm talking, we're one. So I get to be in that spiritual bath, I get to be in that spiritual light. And people say, do you get tired? Do you get drained doing it? And no, most of the time I don't. When I'm feeling tired and drained, that's when I'm trying too hard. That's when the energy is not flowing through me. And that's why, circling back to the beginning, spiritual practice, like, I have to give from the overflow. I need to I need to take care of myself. I mean, since I've been doing this work, this last 10 years, I've been doing this work, intuitive work, full time. And I never thought I could sit for 4, 5, 6 hours a day with clients and be in somebody's energy and just be totally in that intuitive realm. And now I can, but I can because I'm a practitioner. I can because I've had to clean out my own belief systems. I can because I start my day in prayer and meditation. I can because body, mind, and spirit, I have to eat right. I don't drink alcohol. I've cut a lot of the toxicity out of my mind. And when I need a break, I take a break, not that I don't get exasperated, but yeah, I mean, I love my life, Gina. I'm very, very grateful. I wake up in the morning and think, oh my God, I get to do this. Like, I get to do this. It's not that I have to do this. I get to connect with people on a soul level and talk about spirit and talk about options and talk about personal empowerment and cry with people and hand them a box of tissue and be able to just sit there, not feeling sorry for them. That's their power. That's the other thing, that over the years, as I've matured spiritually, I'm meeting people in the same place. I mean, where God is looking back at me. God, through those people, is revealing itself. I'm giving it voice. What I'm picking up on is what they're telling me. I don't bring the astrologer to the practitioner sessions, but I do bring the practitioner to the astrology sessions, because I start my sessions with an invocation, in recognition of the unity and oneness, asking that the divinity of the soul to step forward and bring forth the truth. Let me articulate in a way that's understandable, in a language that is personal to whomever I'm speaking with. And that's where I feel like, again, the Rolodex, I don't have, if somebody asked me to sit down and explain in a linear fashion this or that, I struggle a little bit more because I'm so intuitive about it. Yes, there are certain things that the planet Saturn, rules certain ways of being, that it's structure and whatnot. But sometimes in a session, I see it as something different, and I just speak the truth to that. So it's sort of like another sort of GPS system, giving sort of direction and insight via the signs of the stars and the names of the planets, to go left, to go right, to get home, helping guide people home.
I know you actually see people all over the world. So you via Zoom, you have clients all over the country, and you're able to now know people all over the world. I'm putting up your information for anybody that may be interested in getting on either your mailing list or to give you a call for an appointment or a session, either as a practitioner or as an intuitive, whichever service, because I know you offer, and you're amazing at both. You've actually been such a gift to Concordia. You have been not just on the board, but you have been vice chair at this point. Is it 6 years?
I think I've been on the board for 6, but I've been co-chair. I've been for about 3.5 to 4. Yeah, that term is coming up. Yeah.
And we have 5. We're going to give a shout out to our soon to be full practitioners, the 5 that are being paneled on Saturday.
Thank you. I love the fact that you've been referring to them as the Fab 5. I love that, Gina.
Absolutely. And tell us what that's like. How rewarding has that process been? Because you have been with them through Prac 1 and 2,
Mhm.
You at Reverend Allen have been together with them,
Mhm.
supporting them. What is it like to have them coming up on Saturday for their panel?
Oh, it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. I mean, you just, like I said, you just see the lights come on. They're it's such a personal journey. I mean, year one, Prac one, everybody should take Prac one, whether you want to be a professional practitioner or not. Prac one is really the deep dive. It's the inner journey. It's the journey into our belief systems, and to just watch the courage. I mean, it's not easy to make oneself vulnerable and answer the questions and come up against belief systems that you didn't even know they were there. It's been a blessing and it's been an honor, and it's been a healing process for me as well to review the material. And it's just been, I mean, these students are way ahead of the game. Like what it took me 7 years for this consciousness or whatever it's taken, they're already there, or else we wouldn't be in the same room. So they're coming in at a higher level of awareness. They're coming in even more evolved, more tuned in, and all of them very enthusiastic and very clear about their ministry. I thought I had no idea what I was talking about, when I was getting tested, or what my ministry was going to be about. And they are articulate, and we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate. And Reverend Allen's been brilliant. I mean, he's been brilliant in guiding them along the way and giving each individual, an opportunity to bloom from where they are. Bloom from where you stand. Working with what you have. So yeah, we're very blessed. And how excited and blessed are we as a community to just boom, add 5 more practitioners. That's a big number. So,
Yes, the Northeast is growing in amazing ways.
yeah.
So very excited about that as well. And it's in addition to the practices of this, the last thing I want to ask you is how do you make sure that you get the joy that you need? What do you do for yourself? In addition to, of course, you love what you do, which that lights us up on the inside. As a life coach, I know as much as any that the passion that you're born with, that when you're doing what you're here to do, there's nothing that lights you up more than that.
Mhm.
And there's moments that life can still be. How do you
Mhm.
find your joy in those moments?
Well, my number one joy that is on the top of my gratitude list, I make a gratitude list pretty regularly. And the first thing that comes to mind on my gratitude list are my 2 little dogs. I have a little, mini dachshund, and I have a Yorkie, who are my little babies. I'll show you a little picture. I've got them on my phone. Oh, where are we? Oh, there they are, my little pumpkins. So they are a big source of joy. They are my play, and I love nature, Gina. I love nature. I go walking the beach. I live by the beach. I love the water. I'm a Cancer. I love my home. I love to cook. My friends are my family. I'm a person who loves just the simple things. I mean, I like junk TV. Like I have the guilty pleasures, and I love to just watch the epic, the historical things, and I also love the music shows, and music has been a big part of my life. I mean, for a long time, I was in the hospitality industry. I was in the restaurant business. I was in the nightclub business. I was an event coordinator. So I've always liked the party. I mean, I've always liked the party. But still vicariously, whether it's through television or on a smaller scale, just hanging out with friends. I mean, that's really where my joy is. And truly, I'm living my joy. I love spirit. I love spirituality. That is my joy. If I'm in the conversation and just I feel it today. I'm not just talking about it. I'm not just teaching. I'm not doing these readings. I'm living this, and it brings me a tremendous amount of joy. And I'm grateful that Spirit has led me to you, my friend. I'm grateful that Spirit has led me to Concordia and the house that I've been living in the last few years. And I come from a very big Italian family, a multi-generational Italian family, and I've always been pretty people oriented. So that remains true today, despite the fact that many of my people have passed. Because multi-generational, and they lived. I'm going to be around for a while, Gina, because my people lived to like 90s.
Beautiful. That's wonderful. Good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, our time together has flown as always.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you. Thank you so much for being here and explaining what it is that you do and how it can help in different ways. And again, I've got her information on there. So I always tell people, if you're watching on your phone, you can always take a screenshot, or you can always reach out to me at any time and I can get you Pam's information as well. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Gina.
You are a gift, and I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you, honey. Blessed be you. Blessings.
And to all of you, I thank you for being here with us. And as always, ntmedia.org, this platform is here because of people like you. It's so important to remember that there's good news out there in the world, and there is good news right here. So ntmedia.org, if there's something if you've received from this, then please remember to go and give back a little bit, whether it's setting up a monthly donation or whether it's being in this place of, in giving back in whatever way you can. But also let people know we're here. It is so important that you spread the good news. Look at you can go back and look at any of our old episodes, last week, the week before, and all of our shows. There's so much good here. Thank you for supporting us. And this is me, Gina at believeinouttoday.com. I would love to hear from you. Please reach out anytime. Let me know if there's a guest you'd love to see on the show, if there's a topic you'd love to see covered, whatever it may be, reach out. I'm also a licensed practitioner as well as a life coach, and I'm able to help in any way. Please reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. And on that note, I'm actually going to be giving a workshop this weekend. Now, if you're in the Boston area, that's wonderful. You can come in person and be here with us in person. It is going to be in Medford, Massachusetts, or in Zoom. And that's going to be at 11:30 on Sunday morning. So this coming Sunday, it's on my book, Your Journey to Happiness, 10 Steps to Help Guide You on Your Joyful Journey. So please, if any information, anything that you want to know more of, know that we are here. We are here with good news. And just reach out to me at any time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for blessing other people with your consciousness and knowing that, all is well. And I am knowing that for you. I am celebrating that with you. And, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. Blessed be. And I look forward to seeing you on Monday night for the Peace Circle. Have a wonderful day.